I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I'd written it, and I read it to her in there, and I did sort of feel
It's possible that Prince Harry recently lost one of his final supporters. Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, has taken a stand that shocked the Sussex camp and is no longer keeping quiet. Charles stepped in after years of Meghan dominating the news, posing fresh queries that the Sussexes are unwilling to address. Has Charles Spencer hit his limit at last? And might this be the turning point in Harry and Meghan's lives? Come learn how Harry is stunned when Diana's brother speaks out about Meghan Markle. The silent gatekeeper is Charles Spencer. Althorpe House, Diana's childhood home, has remained silent for a long time, unlike any other place in England. Her shadow, however, had always lingered and continued to grab the world's attention despite the silence. However, that quiet was broken in early 2026 by an angry shout that came from inside the house itself. Charles Spencer was the source of the outburst. However, without knowing Charles Spencer's identity and motivations, the entire narrative would be illogical. And to be honest, a lot of people seem to forget who this man really is because he has been in the background for so long. The younger brother of the late Diana, Princess of Wales, is 62-year-old Charles Spencer. Since Diana's burial, he, the 9th Earl Spencer, has been discreetly preserving her legacy. His historic eulogy in Westminster Abbey in 1997 may stick in the minds of those who witnessed the funeral procession. Charles got up there and essentially challenged the royal family in front of 2 billion people. There, Charles pledged that instead of raising Diana's sons with that icy royal rigidity, the Spencer family would make sure they were raised with warmth and understanding. He vowed to protect children from the agony that characterized Diana's life till the very end. Despite the emotional nature of the speech, Charles Spencer was adamant about keeping his word, and ever since, he has been following his promise quietly but purposefully, and he began with the actual burial. As the crown princess, one would anticipate that Diana would be interred in the royal family vault, or that the royal family would choose her last resting place. However, nothing could be further from the reality. Diana was buried at the Northamptonshire estate of the Spencer family, Althorpe. This is the same home where Diana grew up, learned to ride horses, and developed into the person whom everyone adored. Additionally, it is situated on property that the Spencer family has owned for 500 years. In a nutshell, it suggests that even in death, Charles would not allow his sister escape his grasp. Nevertheless, despite having such power, he did nothing but watch for years. Unsettling things started to happen as Charles observed. Desperation or respect? The jewelry was where it all began. At the 2018 royal wedding celebration, Meghan Markle wore Diana's aquamarine ring. To be honest, it probably felt good at first. It seemed as though someone else was making a concerted effort to preserve his sister's legacy. Meghan also donned the gold bracelets, a Cartier tank watch, and butterfly earrings. Diana owned each of these items, which Meghan utilized with care at occasions where she was certain to be photographed. Nobody claims that the objectives weren't sincere. Maybe they were, but then it started to repeat. Somehow, Meghan always has a Diana piece with her big appearances. The public quickly became aware of the underlying strategy. Then there came the 2021 Oprah interview. For a long time, that was the focus of tabloid news. Every aspect of that interview was examined by some critics. They emphasized the intimate staging, the soft environment, and the lighting. They highlighted the topic, which was a woman's screams for assistance being ignored by a hostile system and hushed by an organization that didn't care about her mental health. The architecture of Diana's 1995 Panorama interview is nearly identical, so any royal fan would spot the parallels right once. Diana went straight to the public in that instance, since the palace had closed all doors on her. Charles Spencer allegedly did not view the Oprah interview from Althorpe as an homage, and that makes sense. The confessional camera moments and Netflix documentaries followed. Meghan even succeeded in creating the story of a couple compelled to escape, by taking advantage of their departure from royal duties, pursued by the same organization that ruined Diana. It is implied that she has created the impression that Diana's predicament is recurring in a different generation. For Charles Spencer, who witnessed his sister's actual anguish being used in real time by media individuals who didn't care about her, this was beginning to appear very familiar, even though it may seem interesting to others. All of a sudden, it didn't feel as nice as the first time she wore the earrings. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex relied on Diana's memory to become internationally famous after losing their HR titles. It was their most valuable asset, their way out of jail, and their source of legitimacy. The Sussexes then took action in 2026 that compelled Charles to end his silence. The contentious documentary. The Sussex family required a means of subsistence after moving from London to Los Angeles. In an attempt to capitalize on their notoriety and amass wealth, they entered the media industry. Netflix was among the many companies that were keen to collaborate with them. They were royals, after all. For a while, at least, they appeared to be doing well. Then, their media organization faced significant strain at the beginning of 2026. Their agreement with Spotify had fallen through. The American Riviera Orchard lifestyle brand was not gaining the desired level of popularity. They required something significant to support the Netflix agreement and serve as a reminder to the world of Harry and Meghan's continued significance. Then, 30 years after Diana's death in that Paris tunnel, someone suggested that a 2027 anniversary documentary be made about her. At least on paper, everything made logical. Those who were close to her have been grieving for 30 years. Unanswered questions for 30 years. People have been looking for conclusive answers, and a moving cinematic documentary about Diana would have been fantastic. According to reports, Netflix was thrilled with it right away and eager to start working. For those who were presenting it, there was one aspect that made it genuinely alluring. They sought to make a clear connection between Meghan's struggle against the same forces and Diana's battle against the establishment. They aimed to present Meghan as the contemporary continuation of Diana's tale, the woman who refused to be silenced in the 21st century. That was very audacious and aspirational. However, it had one disastrous issue. Charles Spencer was essential to their success. They wanted the backdrop to be Althorpe itself. Private family archives were what they want. They allegedly sought access to Diana's handwritten diaries, home videos that have never been shown to the public, and the true private Diana that has never been seen by anybody outside the Spencer family. It goes without saying that without Charles, it would just be another historical documentary. Charles Spencer was presented with this proposition by Netflix and the Sussex team, and it is likely that they assumed he would accept it immediately. The documentary seems to be something that a person preserving his sister's memory would be interested in. It appeared to be a grand cinematic homage to his sister Diana, but after reading that plan, Charles saw something quite different. He recognized the structure of the whole performance when he saw the part Meghan was supposed to play. Diana's legacy for almost 30 years has more power than most others. Suddenly, the people who had created this documentary based on Diana's legacy were left without Diana. Charles declined for a different reason. According to some sources, Charles Spencer's actions since 1997 have been influenced by a particular remorse he has concerning his sister. He is credited for introducing Diana to the journalist who conducted the Panorama interview. Everyone is aware that the identical interview was obtained through psychological manipulation and falsified paperwork. Diana was weak. Someone made her vulnerability on television when she was in pain. Charles saw it take place, and he was deeply affected when, years later, the whole truth about how that interview was obtained was revealed. Throughout his sister's life, he had unknowingly contributed to one of the biggest exploitations of her suffering. Since then, he has dedicated every year to ensuring that something similar never again. He didn't hesitate when he saw Meghan's suggested documentary. Charles Spencer has accomplished something subtly remarkable by keeping that information secret. Diana's secret has been shielded by him. But why is Meghan's desire for the documentary so intense? A muddy Netflix deal? Everyone is also aware of Meghan and Harry's $100 million Netflix deal, which is currently in jeopardy. With Love, Meghan, the most recent show, is not well received. Thus, there isn't much love for With Love, Meghan as of yet. Reviews from critics and the general public poured in within 24 hours after the show debuted on Netflix. The only good thing about it so far is that it has gotten a lot of attention. Netflix will be thrilled with the response if we operate on the premise that any publicity is good PR, as this show is a popular topic, at least online. Nonetheless, a large portion of news media coverage centers on commentators or reviewers' criticism of the show. In all honesty, the unfavorable evaluations themselves are widely available. Reviewers for the UK media gave a harsh response. Even the London Evening Standard, which awarded it 4 stars, ended up making fun of it. It was rated as surreally boring by The Times, which gave it just 2 stars. The Daily Telegraph, which also awarded it 2 stars, claims that the show is a narcissistic exercise full of lavish breakfasts, famous friends, and business connections. The Guardian newspaper, on the other hand, has published articles denouncing Meghan's treatment and has long advocated for the abolition of the monarchy. It received one of the harshest evaluations this time. It described the show as toe-curlingly unlovable TV and gave it 1 star. It might be Meghan's last creation for Netflix, according to another writer. Additionally, the TV and film editor at Hello openly expressed her confusion about the target audience for the show. Although this is supposed to be a light-hearted entertainment program, who would have guessed that seemingly positive lifestyle information could cause such a huge backlash? The Duke and Duchess's Netflix programming has previously received negative reviews. The most watched launch on the platform is still the couple's first documentary series, Harry and Meghan, in which they discuss their challenges living as royalty. But their other shows, including Polo and Heart of Invictus, haven't done as well. A chilly critical reaction was given to them. However, With Love, Meghan, which was first intended to be a novel and approachable glimpse into the couple's California way of life, has turned out to be even less meaningful. Even though the sentiment might be sincere, it didn't make a difference. For many viewers, With Love, Meghan serves as yet another reminder of the widening gap between what consumers genuinely want in lifestyle programming and Meghan's meticulously constructed public persona. Whether Charles Spencer was protecting Diana's legacy or drawing a line that should never have been crossed, one thing is clear. Some stories are too personal, too painful, and too important to be turned into a brand. For nearly 3 decades, Diana's memory has remained one of the most powerful forces in modern royal history. And now, the man who knows that story better than almost anyone has made his position impossible to ignore. The question is no longer whether Harry and Meghan wanted access to Diana's legacy. The question is whether that legacy still belongs to them in the way they believed it did. And if Charles Spencer's answer is truly no, then the consequences could reach far beyond a single documentary. What do you think? Was Charles Spencer right to step in, or should Harry and Meghan have been given access to tell Diana's story their way? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next royal revelation.